Hello, and welcome back to the fourth chair. I am your host, Billy, and we are continuing our journey to create my next Dungeons and Dragons campaign. I am excited because we have decided on the setting for our next campaign. And the next campaign is going to be in the Dalelands. So now that we have the vault that is all prepared for us to start inputting information into it, today we're going to start reading and putting in some basic information. It's late at night. It's like 10 o'clock for me, so I don't think I'm going to be going too much later. But I got my soda to keep me up. And I got the energy to keep going. So, I think where we're going to start is some maps. We're going to go with some maps and maybe not much more than that. Wish I could bring my mic volume down. Might be a little too loud. I'll bring my gain down. There we go. Check, 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 check. That's good. Nice temperate volume. Last night I did attempt to do some character creation with my girlfriend Shannon, and it was a lot of fun. At the same time, it took a lot longer than I was expecting. But we wanted to be very intentional with the process, so that's why it was taking a while. We're also trying to figure out backstory and whatnot. It was just our first filming session for it, and we took about 3 hours, but we really looked through every option that we could for what it would take to make her character. And then a big part that slogged us down was my indecisiveness on how we should roll for stats, and I was a bit hesitant on everything and going back and forth a lot. I've decided I have an official way that I want to take care of stats. And, but I came to that realization today, so I'm going to have to go back. We'll talk about it and change it. I filmed that separately than doing, the live stream, so, let's see, today is, learning about the Dalelands. I will be right now I am sorry, I gotta put a new title for my YouTube. Coolio. I'm thinking it's gonna take a long time for me to genuinely get through enough material to learn about the Dalelands. I was planning on purchasing some older materials just to learn about the lands a little bit more, but I'm realizing the new campaign book, Adventures in Faerun, definitely would have enough for me to work with for a base, floor. And then from there, I can look at a few more resources and input kind of NPCs or family names and whatnot and general area information. But I really I don't need to go super in depth. I've discovered from talking about the first character last night, Shannon's character, that a lot's going to be dependent on my knowledge of the world already and kind of explaining to the players like, hey, it sounds like this would be the best fit for your character and location wise where they should be from. And then also what we've talked about, where they're going or where they've been. So the reason my mic arm covers up my second monitor like a lot. So I'm going to be like looking around left and right. Okay, let me go ahead and split off my screens to go to D&D Beyond, and I'm going to pull up my resources. Also, I was listening to some older Critical Role like clips, and I heard some Skyrim music in the background. I'm like, hopefully Skyrim isn't copyrighted, so I'll just start playing Skyrim music in the background from here on out. Alright, the Dalelands. I may also be learning some about the new plugin that I didn't get as much training with, which is about maps. So get ready for a lot to learn pertaining to that. So let's get working. I'm going to keep the information about the Dalelands on the right side, and I'm going to be building up my resources in my vault on the left side. Some general information about the Dalelands that I need to just keep in mind. But overall, I'm looking for like plot points, you know, possible quests, but mainly NPCs and locations. So I'm going to go forward a bit just so I can get to, well, there's Mithranor. The Dalelands. So I'm going to pull up this, save image as. This is Forgotten Realms. Okay. Map, something 2, the Dalelands. Sounds good. It is in the right spot. Now, this is interesting because I haven't quite thought about how I want everything to be presented in the folder format. In other writing programs that I've used before that do file systems, I was struggling a little bit with having a folder name of a location and then putting all the characters or NPCs that exist in that location there. Because there's hyperlinking involved, I guess I don't really need to be super like specific on where everything is right now, but I can kind of organize things later. So I think I'm just going to, for now, put things into my inbox. So for example, I'm creating a new note because it's like I'm going to put random stuff that I don't know exactly where it's going to go into the inbox. And then from there I can, oh, it's my stomach. And then from there I can decide later like, oh, okay, I am going to have a folder devoted to all the locations. So here I go. So the Dalelands region is where we're going to start. Dalelands region. Should I put the Dalelands? I am going to put the Dalelands. And when it comes to putting in a map, Billy has completely forgotten how to do so. Insert template. There we go. Nope. um, Data view templates? No. Monster templates? No templates. Tools? No. Do I still have my DM screen? I do. That's great. Let me go to the Maps plugin then. Let's see. Where are you? Style settings, supercharged links. Oh, there we go. Maps. Okay, storage location by default. Beside image, sure. Okay. Default width when wrapped. I think I'm going to start by importing the image for sure. From there, let me go to the community plugins, find the maps, look into this. Oh, am I dumb? No, I'm not dumb. I mean, maybe, but unrelated. Features, user manual. Okay, never mind. You have to be in edit mode to insert new map this way. A modal opens and you can set up your map layers, overlay layers. So on the map, right click, options, edit view, bring you back your setup. We will learn this again.
Inside of that, I've got maps, and then welcome to Obsidian TTRPG. Incredibly exciting, and that is plugin in town. It's fantastic. It's easy to use. If you're one of those people that have tried to use Leaflet historically and got confused with how to calculate your bounds and how to add the image to the map and get it all set up correctly, this video is for you, all right? Because this plugin is really simple and easy to use, all right? So let's jump in and let's have a look at Zoom Map. Okay, so let's start with where do we find Zoom Map? It is a brand new plugin, and at this time, it has not been reviewed and released via the Obsidian community plugin feature. Okay, so you can't actually get this directly from within the tool. Now, by the time you watch this video, it's very likely that will change. Okay, so it has been submitted for review, which means in the future, you're going to be able to come down to the settings icon, community plugins, go browse, and hopefully
You guys are hearing
Zoom,
every single one of my bites.
All right, so hopefully we'll be coming into this space in the near future. And you actually need to install BRAT. It stands for Beta Reviewers Auto. Come over here to the face, I'm going to click that, and we're going to go, all right, now where we talk about most of us. To come to my website, and click this link here, and that will take you to our Discord. Where the testing and created it is once you guys send any bug and we click add plugin. Well, actually, sorry, you got to select the version. I just go latest version and click add plugin. All right, that will go ahead and add the plugin. Now I've already can see zoom map there. Okay, so that's where you go to get it installed, where to find it, how to install it. All right, with that said, let's jump in and let's learn how to use the settings. Okay, with any new plugin, the first thing you should always do is read the README and go and check out the settings, okay, just to learn what the plugin can do. So we go settings, we go community plugins, it's now installed, we can see zoom map. All right, now if you click on that, once it's released, it should have the README and the information. Right now, that's not working, so I'll just click back, come to here, and we'll go to settings. Okay, if we go through, there's a few things that you need to know about. We'll go through some of these in more detail as we go through this video. All right, as I said, it's going to be long. We're going to cover everything. All right, so storage. Storage is where you want a map to store its data, okay? And you've got two options. You've got a JSON file that sits beside the image. Now, what that means is Leaflet used to store it in the .obsidian folder in the back end of the plugins. This one doesn't do that. It actually creates a JSON file unique to that actual map, and it sticks it next to the image. And I really like this option. I haven't tested it in things like collab and all that sort of stuff with multiple people making changes at the time, so I'm not sure how that's going to work, but I really like that it puts the JSON file beside the image in your vault, all right, which means, you know, it's unique to that single map, which means the risk of losing any data, like we had a few cases years ago with Leaflet, should be minimal. The other option is inside the note, and we'll actually create a hidden comment inside of the note, and it will basically put it in there. Now, both of these options are really good, right? They seem to be really strong. The risk of data loss due to the plugin resetting is not there because it's storing it in separate files. I'm leaning towards this one, actually. I've come around. I had some issues with data loss, so I was kind of scared of it. But this option here, the JSON file beside the image, is really neat, tidy, and I certainly do recommend that as an option. All right, so the default width sounds pretty easy. We've got some options here for mouse wheel zoom factor, so everything you need to hold control. We've got set on. Prefer first act. All right, SVG icons. All right, so we'll go into those in detail shortly. All right, but there's a lot of things you can do here. All right, so that's your basic settings. All right, the things that sort of matter that you should sort of set up. And obviously for me, it's really just sort of like this stuff up here, making sure I know what button's going to be used for panning, what size things are, that I don't have to use control, like I just come through and get those set up. All right, with that aside, let's jump in and add a new map. All right, let's show you how to do that. First thing we want to do is make a new note. All right, my new note. All right, so we've got basically the ability to have a new note there, and what we're going to do is we're going to paste in a code block effectively. All right, and if we go and have a look at one we've done previously, I've got this one here. So we've got zoom. All right, now I've got this from the actual GitHub site. All right, so if we go back,
Okay, so I need a code block, and I think the code block can be found right here. Yeah. Excuse me.
back to here, we click this link, we go to the GitHub, and as I said, always read the README, copy that in. All right, make sure you delete these extra ticks. All right, that's just added from the website when you copy and paste it, but it's that bit there that you want to use, so it should go tick, 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 zoom map, and then with a tick, tick, tick. Everything between that is the code block. All right, if we turn that on, we get a blank sort of canvas. There's no map there currently, okay? We go to edit, and now we start to go through the options. Okay, so we've got an image, all right? So we have to actually link it to an image. What are we gonna do? We're gonna come in and have a look at ZZ attachments, and I've got a maps folder, and we're gonna use the greenest map DM. So what I wanna do here is make this match. So ZZ underscore attachments is what I've got mine called. And inside of that, I've got maps. And then inside of that, I've got my greenest map DM. So, best map DM, and mine's a PNG. All right, so we've done that. We have a map. All right, that's
Yeah. ZZZ. Map. Maps. Cool. It's not able to locate it, but that is because I'm going to add the map into here. Oh, looky there. Now we have a map.
and then inside of that, I've got my greenest map DM. So, best map DM, and mine's a PNG. All right, so we've done that. We have a map. All right, that simple, that easy. Now, interestingly, you can see this is actually picked up on those markers. It's because I've actually been using this map in another note. All right, so it's already got some of that stuff there. All right, now we've done that. So markers is optional. Defaults to image, yep, whatever. Map view limits, min zoom, max zoom, so how far you can zoom in and out. The height, all right, so we got 560. I'm going to go to 760. All right, which basically says that's going to, by default, take up more of the space, so that's good. Go back into our edit mode. Resizable true. All right, you can actually resize these things. I think it's down the bottom left, so you go click, drag. Now, this doesn't save when you change note, so just be aware of that. It's kind of like a default sort of setting. Sorry, not a default, it's kind of like a real-time setting to go, oh, just get the map out of the way, maybe put it on the side, and the text will actually come onto the side as well, which is kind of cool. All right, then we've got, what is it? Resizable true, resize handle native. All right, you can control where it is. And render, we've got canvas or DOM. Now, canvas is the default render option.
Cool.
But there is recommendations. If you're on an older computer, try DOM. All right, so certainly jump in here and have a look at the README for this. So we're going to go render. All right, just going to find it. All right, there we go. If Flickr appears on mobile, try render canvas. I remember seeing some of these things.
I think I'm good. I think I, add marker, is what we do. But this is great. I can drag and do a bunch of stuff now. I'm sorry. I don't like the mic being so close. Sorry. Check, check, 1, 2. All right. Oh, man, it is hot. It's hot this evening. Should be cooling down. All right. Lot of things to input really if I really wanted to, but I'm not super interested in getting every single thing together. I'm just going to be going in order. So it is interesting that they gave a map of Mythdraenor. Before just like the overview of the Dalelands. So there's a standing stone. Castle Cormanthor. House of Gems, the Lake Ward, the Old City. Yep. 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 Coolio. Alright. Now what? Hmm. Yeah, I guess we just start reading. I recommend if you're one of my players, and you want minimal knowledge of what's going on in the world and the world building and stuff. Click away now. I did read a lot. People of the Dalelands, the land born from Unity. Yep. People of many species. Yep. Dalefolk can be broadly divided into 2 groups. Yep. The Dales Council. Each year at midwinter. Cormanthor and Mythdraenor. Founders Road. December home, the standing stones and tangled trees. The Mythdraenor. Mythdraenor was once the great city in Faerun, a magical metropolis constructed by elves, but home to people of all species, invited into Cormanthor on the establishment of the Dales Compact. However, Mythdraenor fell 800 years ago, torn by internal strife, racked by magical experiments gone awry, and finally invaded by an army of fiends. A little over a century ago, Cormanthor elves reopened Mythdraenor and restored the mythal that protected the city. Mythdraenor stood on the threshold of a golden age, but instead war with the Shadowvar led to the flying city of Fultonthar crashing into the city in 1487. Wow. The mythal failed again, and the wreckage of the Fultonthar made the ruins of Mythdraenor more dangerous and unpredictable than ever. The damage was so extensive that no one knows whether the mythal can be repaired again. The city can be divided into 2 halves. The west lie neighborhoods built prior to the Dales Compact, including the Old City, the Lake Ward, where elves live in elegant palatial homes, and the Temple Ward. To the east lies the Dalabradath, an expansion to the city designed to accommodate the influx of Dalefolk. Streams running north to south separate these 2 regions, and many bridges cross these streams to connect the 2 halves of the city. Over centuries, researchers in Mythdraenor conducted extensive magical experiments and spent resources on a scale found nowhere else on Faerun. Not all these experiments are recorded, and many still stand as broken monuments, their magic warped by centuries of neglect. Explorers in Mythdraenor could stumble on fantastic magic of any kind. Massive magical highways that allow instant travel across Faerun, portals to anywhere in the Great Wheel, and even beyond. Or even structures designed to manipulate time. The fall of Mythdraenor created regions of dead magic within the city. See the Dungeon Master's Guide. For the rules for dead magic zones. While the largest dead magic zone in the city remains relatively stable in permanent locations, smaller dead magic zones move throughout the city in unpredictable patterns. Interesting. I have traveled from the Sunrise Mountains in the east to the trackless sea in the west, from Icewind Dale in the north to wondrous Calimport in the south. But even though I know my memories are false, I will always call the Dalelands my home. The Mythal. Mythdraenor was protected by powerful magic called the Mythal, which expanded the lives of the city's inhabitants, controlled the weather, and had other wondrous uses, ensuring Mythdraenor remained a magical paradise. After the first fall of Mythdraenor, the Mythal eventually deteriorated, its magical effects becoming unpredictable and strange. It restored for a time in the last century, but when the Shadowvar city of Thultanthar crashed into Mythdraenor, the Mythal failed again, this time perhaps beyond repair. The Mythal now has powerful but unreliable magical effects. Most notably, it blocks most teleportation in or out of Mythdraenor, but not within the city walls, and blocks divination effects such as scrying. It sometimes protects falling creatures from harm and can extend the duration of light creating spells. But has also caused strange mutations in those exposed to it for more than a few months. The effects of the malfunctioning Mythal are impossible to predict. Any attempt to restore Mythdraenor ultimately depends on repairing the Mythal, but no one's sure how to accomplish this or if it's even possible. Mega Dungeons. Before the creation of Dungeons & Dragons, the first dungeons took shape as sprawling tunnel networks beneath Castle Blackmoor and Castle Greyhawk. Adventurers explored these fantastic labyrinths one level at a time, retreating when resources ran low or after encountering monsters too powerful to overcome. Between delves into the dungeon, characters went on other adventures. Fantastic adventure sites like this became known as mega dungeons. The abandoned elven city of Mythdraenor is an example of a mega dungeon. For guidance on adventuring in Mythdraenor, see Dalelands stories later in this chapter. Interesting. Yeah. Locations in Mythdraenor. Cool. Tower of Bones. Dalelands Gazetteer. The Dalelands consists of a dozen scattered communities, each known as a Dale, surrounding the ancient forest of Corminthar. While Dale folk share history and culture, each Dale has its own unique character. Over the centuries, many Dales have risen and fallen. This section details each of the current Dales, discussing landmarks, settlements, rulers, and customs, as well as two of the Dale's most notable towns. Arkendale, Battledale, Daggerdale, Deepingdale, Featherdale, Harrowdale, Highdale, Mistledale, Scardale Town, Shadowdale Town, and Tasseldale. Arkendale. I am going to try and see if I could find any, like, Dalelands art, just like general art, you know. Because I'd love to have more visuals, but of course. Yeah, I'd be interested in being like, oh, I have a map of Arkandale, you know? Like, that would be useful. Like Arkandale. Okay, I'm seeing some resources that are just like even closer looks, like Arkenwood. This is Arkandale, right? Oh, I'm sorry. Arkandale is just a location or a region? Yeah. Hmm. I should have a template for a map. We put in a location. No wonder I'm not finding a map about Arkandale. It's just a region. I have a map of it right here. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Hmm. So let me look at like stuff in Arkandale. Like, okay, let me just read from the top of Arkandale. Sorry. The most militant region in the Dalelands is also one of the wealthiest. Arkandale is the first stop for trade between the Dalelands and Sembia, or for Sembia's periodic invasions, and a place where traditional Daleland occupants like farmers and hunters give way to merchants and soldiers. Okay. The people of Arkandale believe mercantile and mercenary strength together keep Arkandale safe from longtime rivals Sembia and Tasseldale. Okay. This principle created a culture in which people of Arkandale pursue power and wealth at all costs, fearing the consequences of losing either. Arkandale's rulers are the sword, masked individuals who keep their identities a mystery. A generation ago, the swords of the time were overthrown and cast out. A generation ago, the swords of that time were overthrown and cast out. But the Dale's wealthy and well-armed families couldn't agree on a replacement government. Finally, 3 new swords presented themselves at Sword Point. Okay, a few years ago. And the Dale accepted their rule. The Arkan Riders are the Dale's primary defense. 600 well-equipped warriors divided into 10 squadrons that patrol the river of Arkan. Okay. I see that. I see it. Looking for spies, outlaws, and anyone else who needs a lesson in Arkandale justice. The Arkan Riders' enforcement of the border between Arkandale and Sembia has cemented their reputation as one of the most fearsome military forces in the Dalelands. Okay. Okay. Arkan Bridge. Arkan Bridge is a heavily fortified town that boasts a stone wall surrounding a cramped inner neighborhood known as the Central Ward. Here are many storied townhouses flanked the cobblestone and from Sembia. The doors to these buildings feature arrow slits and barred windows, and even these ordinary homes are trapped with pits, murder holes, and other deadly devices. Many citizens of Arkan Bridge are merchant adventurers eager for battle and gold. Due to the wealth its citizens bring in the town is remarkably cosmopolitan, attracting a diverse array of shops, taverns, and crafters. The town is dedicated to Lathander, but also boasts a famous temple to Chantia called the Bounty of the Goddess. Arkan Bridge has spilled outside its walls. Residents unable to afford property in the Central Ward built wooden homes and shops outside. When enemies threatened Arkan Bridge, these outbuildings are a liability in the town's defense, and the swords have ordered the entire outer town be burned to the ground to discourage such settlement. Outrage among Arkan Bridge's less affluent citizens who live in the outer towns has so far blocked this effort. Okay. So let's say that I do Arkan Bridge. Arkan Bridge map. Okay, so there's like an old map of Arkandale. That's pretty cool. Now, I don't really see... Oh, sword point. Huh. It described there being walls and whatnot. Okay, there's woods, there's fields. 50-foot elevation. Earthly rampants. $1368 DR. Wow. These are very interesting maps. I'm having a difficult time visualizing Arkenbridge as a location. Excuse me. Arkendale. Or Arkenbridge. Interactive Arkenbridge map. Crazy. Map of Arkenbridge. Oh, that's the one I saw already. Yeah, I don't know. So this would be a very interesting one for me to find. My own map that accurately depicts Arkendale. I think that's fair, right? It's a heavily fortified town that boasts a stone wall surrounding a cramped inner neighborhood known as the Central Ward. Here, many storied townhouses flank cobblestone streets busy with traffic from the rest of the Dalelands and from Sembia. Okay. Huh? Okay. Um, hmm. Yeah. Let me do a little bit more research on Arkandale to see. Or Arkenbridge. There we go. Culture. The proximity of Arkenbridge to nearby metropolises such as Suzail and the city-states of Sembia, such as Salgont, um, contributed to both mercantile traffic and paranoia against foreign influence. The fear of Sembia's military extended out from the sword's influence in the city, out towards the rest of the Dale as a whole. As a result, Arkenfolk are known to be amongst the unfriendliest of the Dale inhabitants. Religion. The main worship in Arkandale was dedicated to Lathander, and to Chontia, whose clergy was the most influential in the region. Veneration of Tempest was also important, especially amongst the Arkan riders. Leisuring. Picnics at High Sun. High Sun. On the Glen of Grave Hollow was a popular activity amongst the locals, both young and old. Fishing and recreational boating on the River Arkan were popular pastimes of the wealthy inhabitants of the Riverway. Where's High Sun? Oh, picnics at High Sun on the Glen of Grave Hollow. Where's Grave Hollow? Grave Hollow. Was a haunted burrow located in the center of the city of Arkenbridge. Is Grave Hollow? Hmm. This is cool. This is cool. There's a lot that I'm figuring out. So, I'm struggling to look at this old map and think, okay, yeah, there's totally like walls around everything because there's clearly not walls around everything. So, this is cool. Where would this information have come from? The Dalelands, maybe? The Dalelands, 1993. Between the shining kingdom of Cormyr and the dangerous lands of the Moon Sea lie the Dalelands, a region of rich farmland and dark brooding forests, referred to by the locals simply as the Dales. The area is hidden in the virgin woodlands of the ancient elven court. The people there acknowledge no overlord and pay tribute to no great power, but instead jealously guard their independence and freedom from their larger neighbors. For hundreds of years, Dalesmen have led rustic lives, scattered in small communities. They have learned that the price of freedom is sober responsibility. People count on no one but themselves or perhaps the fellow who lives in the next farm over. Hard work and clean living will succeed where foreign magic and plots fail. Fortunately, the Dalesmen have found that their simple lifestyle and morals aren't always enough. To the north lie the black battlements of Zintelkeep, ruled by the dangerous and manipulative folk who would like nothing better than to add the Dales to their conquests. To the south is the young nation of Sembia, wealthy, ambitious, and strong. West of the Dales are broken mountains and badlands where all kinds of evil creatures plot raids and war against the Dales below. The freedom of the Dales often rests on the point of a sword. In the Elven Woods ruins and old secrets lie waiting, some harboring wondrous treasures and other horrible death. The Elven Court is not so quiet or empty as the Dalesmen would like, and all sorts of brigands, bandits, and monsters have made their home in the dark forest and tors that lie between the dales. From Scardale to Shadowdale, from Battledale to Teschendale. Teschendale? That doesn't exist anymore, huh? High peril, dark magic, and ancient ruins wait for the bold of heart. In between adventures, you may also find the truest allies and most honest folk of the Forgotten Realms. About this book, the Dalelands is designed to be used by the Dungeon Master as a ready-to-run campaign guide to the Dales. It supplements the information in the Forgotten Realms box set and is complementary to any number of adventures set in the Dales or Elven Court. In Chapter 1, the Dales are discussed as a whole. History, trade, politics, power groups, and the campaign-shaping forces for the entire area are described. Chapter 2 discusses the Dales in turn. Personalities, places, and items of special interest to adventurers are all noted. In addition to descriptions of the various Dales, you will find information on local surrounding areas and adventure possibilities in Chapter 3. With a little customizing and work, you will find everything you need to make the Dalelands into your own campaign area. Dude, this is so cool for 1993. Love this. Arkandales. have like a catalog of maps just kind of sitting in my computer. Be interested to open it up and see what settlements are already in there that maybe I could even just use for just to see, you know. Bah. Excuse me. Just to see if something might work. Map backlogs. Settlements. Let's do Boogie Town. That's interesting. Oh. Okay. Don't need cities. It's probably a bit big, huh? Or is it? Huh. This could be anything. Oh my gosh. The village. What in the world? Didn't realize I had morning and night versions of just these random locations. Yeah, you know what? Let's just click and see what I got. That's obviously not going to work. It's too much on a... Arkenbridge. Let's see what the population of Arkenbridge. Hold on. Hit this real quick. Grave Hollow, Sternson Paddock, Marketfield, Sedan Sawmill, Heward's Mill, Olgath's Provisions, Drunken Lion, the Arkan Bridge, known locally as the Bridge, there being no other spans of importance the area. Spans the importance the area. The dwarf-built buttresses are said to be enchanted for strength and diverse. One of the strongest fortresses in the Dalelands, Swordpoint is the main barracks of Arkandale's army. It sits on a rocky knoll overlooking the old Arkan Ford. It commands the west road that leads farther into the Dales. Swordpoint consists of a stone keep built by Robber Baron more than 500 years ago. An intimidating stone fortress called Swordpoint overlooks the town of Arkenbridge. It serves as a garrison for the Arkan Riders and home for the Swords, the Dale's 3 anonymous rulers. The castle's stone walls have been crumbling for centuries. Nevertheless, Swordpoint's catapults and ballista, combined with its high make it one of the most formidable fortresses in the Dalelands. The central courtyard boasts the shrine of swords dedicated to Tempest, along with multiple layers of supplementary defenses such as movable wooden walls fitted with crossbows, moats filled with flammable oil, and rolling platforms with mounted siege weapons. The swords employed a mage named Orsul. Orsul's Tower exists in there, huh? To create a permanent magical ward around the castle and treat its stones with a hardening formula derived from the blood of a gorgon. Dwarf masons hired to expand the castle added extensive subterranean tunnels, dungeons, and storage chambers capable of supplying Arkan Bridge for a year. At least 180 Arkan Raiders staff the castle at all times. What was the military thing it said? The Arkan Raiders are the Dale's primary defenders. 600 well-equipped warriors divided into 10 squadrons that patrol the river. 600 is a lot. What is the population of Arkindale? The Arkan Raiders, 600 soldiers strong. Oh, Arkindale, North Carolina. Its population was 92,000 in the year 1372 DR and shifted to 90,000 by 1479. If you meant the real world city, cool. I mean, Arkindale would have to be a city, or Arkenbridge would have to be a city. That's the only notable location besides the White Ford. And Sword Point, which are both supposed to be like pretty small in comparison. What? Yeah, the ford is only supposed to. White Ford is supposed to be the village. A village, and Arkenbridge only a town. So I would think a town is pretty small, but it's saying 90,000? Wilkes. Forgotten Realms Campaign Guide. Look at the tale that was named after the ogre mage who formerly terrorized the region but has since been slain. Bodies of water. Society, despite their warlike attitude, the Dale owed its prosperity to mercantile rather than military prowess. As such, the life of successful trader and businessman was highly valued. Lawfulness and order were paramount to achieve continued prosperity in the eyes of Arkandalesmen, a view that was propagated by the Three Swords. As such, adventurers were not necessarily welcomed, as they often brought uncertainty and chaos. Streams were full of crawfish and freshwater crabs. Interesting. Okay, 10,000 sounds right. Just about 10,000, I'm sure. Ship when they discovered to be consorting with the attackers. Looks like I might need to build my own map for this. Do I have enough energy to do that right now? Maybe. Maybe not. That'd be really cool to do, like, my own rendition of Arkandale or Arkenbridge. You know, let me try this. I couldn't pull it up here, but I would need to pull it up there. We do D&D. make this as a presentation. I am going to attempt to make a map in Canva. I will be taking references already, pre-existing. Oh boy. I think it would be appropriate for me to kind of like put this on its side to see the other, like, yeah, so that it's like running down. It makes sense. All right, how might I go about this? I have assets. Let me pull up another reference as well. Like, just like another good map. Oh, I have so many tabs open. Ha. I am not going to see any messages if they come in. Oh, I could pop out the chat. Oh, how great. That would have been neato to know before. Okay. So the idea would be to get the groundwork of like the actual just map. And then okay, let me do I'm gonna duplicate this so I can go back and forth. Normal buildings? Interesting. Trees, walls. Waters. Dirt road, brush. Ground. Might be a good start. Simplar, the exemplary city. That's good. I like that. Building clusters, mountains, normal buildings, strongholds, trees, ground for 2. Okay. I'm going to add this. Send it to back. Let's go for water. Maybe there's like a better water or how to make D&D maps. City maps. Incarnate.
This right here is how I make all my settlement maps. This is called Incarnate. It's a web application map maker. It's quite popular, but in case you're not familiar with it, I'll walk you through how it works. Here's some settlements I've made from hamlets, villages, towns, and more. Downloads for all of them are available for our apprentice tier patrons. If you're a dungeon master and you're currently running in a homebrew world, that's a hodgepodge of town maps you found online, maybe you generated them, and you find yourself saying stuff like, imagine this river isn't here, or there's actually a big keep just slightly off map, I think your solution is right here. Or if you want to make your own battle maps. At the moment, I make all my setting maps in Incarnate, and I really like doing it. Since I've started, I've created countless settlements exactly as I imagined them, quickly, easily, and not just that, it's a lot of fun, matter of minutes. Let's make a map. Incarnate offers various different styles for map making, and there's an asset library that comes with each style. So when you make a map, it asks you to pick a style. This is a map of a world, or a region, a town, or a battlefield. I really like these watercolor maps, but if you've seen my world map on my wall in my living room, and you want to make something like it without using Photoshop like I did, then Parchment World would probably get you most of the way there. Let's make a town. I'll show you how easy it is. It starts by asking you to pick a resolution and a frame. They measure it in tiles. I tend to pick landscape because when I put up maps, I put them on the TV in my living room, and if I make them in portrait, the map is smaller. But if I make them in landscape, I use the 16:9 aspect ratio. So most of my towns are landscapes at that point. When you load in, it starts with just a big old ocean. There is no land on here, and that's fine. What you want to do is you want to go here into the mask tool, add brush size. You can mess with the roughness or the mask effects, and it gives you a little brush, and you paint the land. So if you want to make an island, you just make a little blob, and then that's your island. Or you can make a little coastline. You got a little coastline, and then you mess around with this. You just try and draw sort of blobby little shapes. You can go to subtract, add a little river. All good towns come with a river. Paint in the river mouth a bit, so it sort of widens, and there you go. This is the basis of a town. I tend to find that my towns look better if I start by placing the landscape. I put landscape on the map, and then I imagine how the town built itself into the landscapes. You can go to the stamp setting here on the side, and it starts by showing you a house, but we're not going to use a house just yet. We're going to go ahead and pick a landscape. This one's a little hill. This one's a bigger hill. Let's make a big hill over here. I don't know why, we'll figure it out. Let's make an even bigger hill, just sort of here, right? This is a hill composite. This is one of the core assets, which is one of the ones available for free, but I paid for the yearly subscription. I think it's only $25 a year, so I figured that's not all that much for how much I use it. Feel free to make. And then I imagine how the town
Very useful. Okay. Fantasy world, fantasy world. Yeah, I think that would be it. Okay. Autosaved is enabled. Let me go ahead and give this a name. Can I give it a name? Parking Bridge. Can I look up other people's maps on Incarnate? Oh, it's Incarnate. Ink. Oh, I love it. Look at that. Parking Bridge. Oh my gosh. That's like perfect. Do I believe that there's 10,000 people living here? But I may be able to just suspend my disbelief. I almost just would love to do my own, but I don't know I have the luxury of spending that much time. But I love this idea. This idea is great. It as if it's on a landmass in the middle of the river. Three sword point. Oh, they put sword point in there. Huh. I would have taken him off. I'm gonna attempt to make it though.
Make your own call on that. And you can scroll around here, and I'm going to go find terrain, and I'm going to find these grassy hill composites that are really big. And I'm going to put some of them here that go kind of off map, like that. Put a little gap in them because I know I want people to be able to walk up there. I want the map of the town to look like people do walk up there. I'll put another hill sort of over here, maybe another one over here, and now we've got some hills. And already I'm starting to see the constraints I'm working with, and constraints are useful. Whenever you're creating something, just find yourself adding a few constraints onto it, and suddenly the scope of your project kind of becomes more clear to you. By showing you a house, but we're not going to use a house just yet. We're going to go ahead and pick a landscape. This one's a little hill. Elf into the landscapes. You can go to the stamp setting here on the side and start by showing you a house, but we're not going to use a house just yet. We're going to go ahead and pick a landscape. For the stamp setting here on the side and start by showing you a house, but we're not going to use a house just yet. We're going to go ahead and pick. pick a landscape. This one's a little hill. There's a ball on that block here, maybe another one over here I'm working with. And constraints are useful. Whenever you're creating something, just find yourself adding a few constraints onto it, and suddenly the scope of your project kind of becomes more clear to you. I'm going to create a group. We're going to call this terrain, and then I'm going to lock it so that I don't mess with it. Again. Next up, I'm not really comfortable moving on with the town until I figured out the key assets. So what I like doing is I go to the stamp tool and I go to this big category. I look at special buildings and I think, ooh, is there a big church? Is there a coliseum? How big is this town? Well, I think the town isn't all that big. I think this is a small village, so we can make it for one YouTube video. Well, maybe we decide it's got a huge cathedral in it. No, I don't think so. But it might have one of these churches. This one's a fairly big church. Let's put a church on one of these hills. How would it face? Like that. Yeah. Notice I'm rotating it here. I'm holding down Control and the scroll wheel, and I can rotate. It's got all the instructions for the shortcuts right here at the bottom. If you remember our video on Obsidian, I talked a lot about editing at the speed of thought. That's kind of what I'm doing here. You can also hold down Control and Alt, and it rotates in fine detail. Let go of Alt, and it's sort of block move, and then fine detail. Click. There you go. You got a little church. Oh, there's a windmill. You know, I can put a little windmill here. You can hold down Alt and cycle, and then you get the different stamps. This one's a red roof. This one's a blue roof. Sort of deep crimson. Let's do the sort of paler one. And sorry, this is not a windmill. This is a water mill. I'm gonna get some comments on that, right? This is not a big river. It's not navigable, so I'm not worried about placing assets over it. If it were bigger, I might make some ships be able to sail up it a little, but I don't think it's big enough for that. Continuing to place key assets, let's go put down a bridge. Where bridges are is an important factor into how the town was built, so I don't think we can wait a lot on that. Here you go, got a little bridge. Bridges are really expensive, so in a small town, they might only have one bridge. You can collapse categories when they're in your way. I do that sort of brutally. I don't look at the elves one, the frames, the ghost town, the foliage, or gothic horror, or holidays, you know. Maybe there's a ruin.
Excuse me.
Let's have there be a ruined tower. Sometimes I look at things on here and I realize it's telling me a lot about the place. Suddenly I'm learning a lot. Why is there a ruined tower here next to this church? What happened? I don't know. It's okay not knowing. Once you embrace not knowing, you get into this sort of feeling of just creating for creation's sake. And you trust yourself that eventually you will figure all these things out. Next up I want to play, not taking too much up of the hill, because I think there's a keep. So we're going to make a little keep. Hold down. And what you can do is you can use the pen tool to make walls. Pen. Stroke color. And you can make the stroke color be a wall. And you can say, all right, this here is a keep. Yeah, let's make some walls. Right now it doesn't look like much. We're going to put a little fortification in here. We're going to make a little tower that takes over the wall here. We're going to stick these little rooftops here on the rest of the towers, so there are little towers all over the place. Make a little gatehouse. This is a gatehouse with a moat. We can also make one that doesn't have a moat. And now you've got a sort of fortified position could take it a step further if you want to put another tower in here. We can make another house inside the keep itself, like a chapel. Good keeps have chapels in them. You're really noodly. You can get all the way in and decide to put in a statue. In details, statues, you can have a man on a horse. You can have a man, soldier, monk. I like the man on a horse. I use them a lot. There's another one up here, so we're gonna put. You can set it. Because that makes sense quicker than you thought you would. Oh, here we have the same asset twice. Sometimes I have that happen. I just delete it. I put another one down. It's not that much work, that it really doesn't seem to bother me at all. You can also use these small red clusters and create these kind of more informal shapes. See here, now we've sort of created a main thoroughfare that goes down here and out here, and we just sort of let the stamps inspire us. We don't need to come in here with the whole design. You know, maybe I described this town last session and I told the players there were a couple of hills, a keep, a church, and the river, and now the exact details of everything else really doesn't matter all that much. I'm going to leave this blank. Now if you wanted to, you can also get these sort of big blocks in, and they can be your house clusters if you have a big city. You could just create this kind of thoroughfare here of them, but I don't really want to right now, so I'm not gonna. You can also separate districts by having the color roofs change. So this one's gonna have yellow roofs just to tell us this is a different district. Sometimes you get a road that's really wide and get this background layer and foreground layer. We can make sure to put a little button to make walk, just like that. Road contrast, road alpha. Alpha meaning it's like a PNG, there's no background to it. You could paint it over any texture, you can even paint it over the ocean, and it lets the background through. We can put that on foreground, we can scale it down a bit, we can make sure it's not the hardest surface, but maybe we want it a little hard. And what's good is you can sort of paint that on the same way. If you're doing the main thoroughfare, you might sort of go several passes with your brush. Here, hang on. Here maybe we just have the church road sort of be on the grass, all kind of clean and nice. And you use your opacity against the dirt to kind of decide how fancy it is, right? Now, I think we undercooked it with the dirt, so we're gonna go another pass of dirt over all this. And now we sort of muddy the cobblestone a bit. I don't think that looks fantastic. Way to quickly elevate the map, reduce the area to make sure you can paint back. And let's do the farms. We haven't done the farms yet. We can go up here into farm textures. The farm is oriented this way, but the wheat is oriented that way. So what we can do is we can go to advanced settings, rotation. You can rotate the entire stamp. I want this full opacity, and the brush size is fairly small because otherwise I'm gonna hit the hard edges. And you know, you can go really detailed with this, but a lot of the time I find that I just sort of slap it on. That seems to do the job real nice. Do the same thing here. While I have one brush selected, I usually just do them all. Here, rotate them to a point where we think it makes sense, like that. Ooh, it's a little too rough for my taste. There we go, a bit better. Make sure to paint a few of these in. Let's get that one over there. Let's get this one over here. You can also mess with the texture scale if you want. For instance, if you want to make a really huge map, you don't have to make
There's so much I could be doing. Alright, I'm going to cut it here. I think I've learned quite a bit, not necessarily about the Dalelands, but on how I'm going to be tackling all of this, because it's like I'm going to be learning more and more. But anyways, thank you for, I don't know, to anybody who even watches this in the future, thanks for putting me on the second monitor. But this is going to be really interesting because I'm going to be making my own maps. I got my work cut out for me, but I do think that this is part of like the enjoyable stuff, because it's like I'll be reading about these places and it's like, all right, let me put that down as I'm learning about it. It's a lot of good being able to flesh something out, and have a hands-on experience at the same time, because it's very visual for me. So anyways, until next time, there'll be a lot more sitting around looking and learning.